Hey, I just got back from lunch. Did you finish that report yet?
Well, not exactly. Still working on it. I'm not finished just yet. I got a little sidetracked, but I will get them to you first thing this afternoon.
It is first thing this afternoon.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I mean, I am working on
But
my, I'll have,
what do you mean that the report isn't finished yet?
I'm still in the process of working on it. I've just been a little distracted.
Distracted. Our meeting starts in an hour.
I can have it.
No. What were you doing? Were you listening to another hunting podcast again? I swear, I give the staff in this office the freedom to do whatever they want to do as long as they meet a deadline. That is the first bullet underneath your job description. Pays attention to detail and deadlines. And deadlines. Dude, are you even listening to me right now?
Welcome to episode 25 of the Whitetail Distraction Podcast. My name's Austin, and joining me today in my basement until it gets warm outside, Charles Headland. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. What's going on?
Oh, dude, I'm just hanging out. I'm excited about today.
Oh, I'm excited about today.
I think everybody's going to be excited about today.
This is an episode that we've been kind of holding back from, guys, and we're pretty excited about it. It's something that I've been waiting to kind of pick the brain at. Someone I look up to in the hunting world, I guess.
Absolutely.
Someone I idolize a little bit. So it's a big surprise, but
It is a big surprise.
Dude, we're trying not to give it away in the intro. This guy that's coming on he's someone special to us, and I think a lot of people can relate to what he has to say. We go over a bunch of great topics, and we're going to cover everything.
Oh, yeah, man. He's a wealth of knowledge, and, he's just a really cool dude to sit around and talk to. I mean, I know you're the same way. I could have talked to him for 4 or 5 hours if...
Yeah.
I just didn't want to keep him all night. He's a busy guy. They're all busy guys, so...
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of being selfish. I'm just like, I'm trying to suck up as much information as I can. I want to keep conversation going because it's going really good.
Yep.
So I don't want to ruin anything.
Yep, agreed.
I just was like, I understand his time, but I could tell he was enjoying it too because he loves this stuff. That's what he does.
He does. He's getting fired up a couple times. But
yeah.
Yeah.
We start talking about some Pennsylvania points, and it gets a little heated at times. So
true.
It's amazing. It's a really good episode. Probably going to be my favorite episode to hit the air.
Agreed.
All right.
Well,
we might as well bring him on then, huh?
Yeah. So today we are joined by someone that we love. We know you guys love him. One of our favorite hosts from our favorite show on YouTube, the turkey slaying, smallmouth angling, buck stalking dude with the best hair on YouTube, Zach Ferenbaugh. Before we bring Zach on, let's hear a quick word about our sponsor, Williams Archery.
Archery season has sadly come and gone, but your shooting does not have to stop there thanks to Williams Archery's indoor range. They offer hands-on shooting lessons, and they run indoor shooting leagues throughout the off-season. Now is also a great time to go get the repairs done that you've been putting off all season. You can also check out their new bow lines of Hoyt, PSE, Elite, Bear, Parker, and more. The new bows are awesome. Tell them you heard about Williams Archery on the Whitetail Distraction Podcast when you give them a call at 724-667-9660.
All right, today on the podcast we have Zach Ferenbaugh. How you doing today, buddy?
Oh, been pretty good. Been on the road mostly. Mostly I'm on the road, so yeah, just always trying to remember which state I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can only imagine, man.
Oh, yeah.
So, one quick question just to start this off. How's it feel to be the person with the best hair on YouTube?
Well, I appreciate that. I don't necessarily know that it's true if you're encompassing all of YouTube, but I appreciate the support. It's funny. You want to hear the real quick story of how I grew my hair out?
Yes, sir.
For the first time. So me and some buddies, we went to Ohio University in Southeast Ohio, and we were all part of the fishing club there. And we were hanging around having a social gathering, and me and my brother and probably 3 or 4 of our friends in the club were standing there, and we started talking about how we always wanted to grow our hair out, and like 5 of us were just like, yeah, like let's do it. So we just like all shook on it and said, see who can grow it the longest, and whoever, at some time we probably had some silly bet, like, whoever gets theirs cut first has to, buy everybody beer or something. And
oh, yeah.
we, some time went on, and there was probably, there was 4 of us, and then there was 3 of us, and then there was me and my brother. And me and my brother now, still to this day, years later, still have like really long hair. It's kind of funny.
I was going to ask how many people are left from that bet. So it's just you and your brother that made it this whole time.
Yeah. I mean, it's been at this point, man, it's been probably, I think that probably happened in early, it was early 2014.
Oh man.
So since that time, it's been really long. I've always had a little bit longer hair, but since then it's been about this long. I cut it 1 or 2 times maybe, but
yeah, you got to tell Jake and Ted, man,
belongs.
they got to get their hair game up. Jake and Ted, they're really struggling on that hair game.
Jake's is getting pretty long. I think the mullet's pretty hilarious. At first, I didn't stand for it. But
it is pretty hilarious.
I didn't stand for it at first, but then he did it, and I was like, all right, that's actually pretty funny. And like, he is really always wearing a hat anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Like, you barely see it.
Yeah. Oh man, I love some of the headbands he wears too. They're hysterical. I love that.
Oh yeah, we really enjoy just creating a goofy appearance because I don't know, it just doesn't really matter to us that much. I guess
you gotta have fun, man. That's one way of having fun. Yeah,
that's what hunting's all about.
That's what our whole goal is out there, to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I love that you guys aren't like super serious. Like you got this hunting shows where they're just like, this is how it is and this is how it's always gonna be, and you guys are like, hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I mean, it never was that serious before we started doing this, so why would it suddenly become serious,
Yeah,
I guess
I like that.
That's kind of what we, being ourselves, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if we mentioned it that you're from the hunting public on YouTube.
I didn't.
We just kind of got right into it. But yeah, so you are from the hunting public on YouTube, and you grew up right here in Ohio. But instead of, we usually ask our guests right off the bat kind of where you're from, what do you do? We kind of understand what you do. At least the people that do or don't, they need to get on it. You can go look at the hunting public on YouTube, and we'll catch up with that later. But I want you to kind of talk a little bit about where you grew up in Ohio and how it was growing up there as a young hunter.
Yeah, so I grew up in Western Ohio and started hunting when I was real little. So my parents moved to Western Ohio for college and then stayed there after they graduated, but my family and a lot of their friends were still in Eastern Ohio. So when I was a kid, every weekend we'd go home, is what, my parents called it. So we'd go east, and that's where I kind of got into hunting originally, was with my grandpas and my dad in Eastern Ohio. And my grandpa has 2 80-acre blocks around where he lives, and then my dad's friend, or like one of my dad's best friends, who his son is now one of my best friends, Ben. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of the videos or anything, but they lived over there, and they had, I think, 57 acres. So like, that's kind of where I grew up. The original like days of hunting was just kind of popping around those areas. And and there had, we had a couple places of permission right around there as well. So kind of started hunting there. And then when I was 11 years old, we lost permission on like the only place out of those pieces that had turkeys. So from 12 on until now, I've hunted turkeys pretty like exclusively on public land since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And then deer, as time went on and I kind of grew up, got my driver's license and stuff like that, and was able to just go more. I started gaining permission in Western Ohio, which is what I would hunt, when I was in middle school all the way till college. Through college, I would hunt that like when I was around home, just a few places on permission and really flat ground. Western Ohio was like extremely flat, a lot of roads, a lot of people, very, very, very little deer habitat. So I hunted that on the weekdays, some weekends, and then most weekends I would, go to Eastern or Southern Ohio and hunt those places that my family and friends owned or public land around there. And did that all the way through, up until college. And then in college, went to OU, and there's a ton of public land around there within really short driving distance. And I just started exploring like crazy when I was in college. That's when I really started just like learning how to do some of the things that we're doing now, like just dive into a piece of public and try to figure it out as fast as you could, and I really owe a lot to Southern Ohio, and to me it means a lot to have lived there and went to school there, and still probably my favorite place I've ever lived, just because of all the easy access to public land and how much ground you can cover. I mean, you could live your whole life down there and you never cover it all. But
Yeah.
then eventually moved to Iowa and started working for Midwest Whitetail. And then just about, I think about a year and a half ago now, we started the hunting public. So it's kind of the story.
Yeah. Oh, man. I love the hunting public, and I really liked watching you on Midwest Whitetail. I mean, that was always pretty cool, too.
Yeah. So I got a good idea. I just came up with an idea for you guys. You don't really have an intro to your shows, which, by the way, I love. But
Yeah.
I think you need to do this. I think you need to go through your intro, and then just like the NFL does it, be like, "Hi, I'm Zach Ferenbaugh, the Ohio University."
That would be great. That would be really hilarious.
I was just picturing it in my mind, and I literally couldn't wait. I probably didn't even hear the last 40 things you said because I couldn't wait to just mention that. It was blowing up in my mind. I'm picturing you standing there so serious.
You guys would definitely laugh at all the crazy video ideas that we dream up but never actually go through with. The list goes on of just like silly stuff that we wish we had more time to do.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I just wish more guys would follow your lead, though. You guys put out videos that are just so laid back and goofy, and I mean, I enjoy watching them, and I've said it before. I don't know, I've never did the statistics, but say 10% of your videos are actual kills, and 90% aren't, and I love it. I mean, I love the realness of it. There's not like a big drawn out intro to every show. You know, there's not even a ton of beeline usually. You get into it. It's very informative, but you guys have fun with it. And I think that's something that people that are trying to get into filming shows and they're trying to make it out there, if you want to say that, but they really need to learn about or see what you guys are doing, because you guys are doing it right. And it seems to be pretty successful. Your growth over the last year is just unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing better than we even hoped, and we tried really hard. I mean, it is a lot of work, and a lot of people ask us the question like, how do you guys hunt every day? What's your job to hunt every day? And it's like, I mean, as much as we edit and do stuff on social media and just creating content in general, it's like this literally is more than a 40-hour-a-week job by a long shot.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I mean, just imagine you spend say 6 hours in a stand in a given day, and then outside of that, you're always editing and trying to get things out as quick as possible. I mean, when you guys were on the road, like in the turkey tour, you were posting a video almost every day. It was incredible. Yeah. I mean, I was loving it personally. Yeah. I was sitting at work, not doing a dang thing, but watching your video for the first half an hour or 45 minutes of the day. But and that's just to be honest. But I love it. I love how you guys are always keeping up on it. And like, we mentioned before we started recording how you feel some of the pressure, and people probably don't understand that. And how do you guys get away with kind of keeping hunting as far as trying to not feel like it's a job so much for you, but still keeping it fun?
How do we do that?
Yeah, how do you do it?
I think we just love hunting more than it's probably normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the trick, really. It's like, if it starts to become something that you're not interested in or you don't want to talk about, then it's hard to keep that sincere goofiness and that excitement, that we have every day. And I think, like when we've been interviewing people for like our internship thing that we do,
which is the coolest thing ever, by the way. If I wasn't working, I'd be throwing my name in the hat too.
I already asked my wife. I got turned down. Sorry, man.
But it's like we do that and we talk to people and we interview them, and I tell everybody, and I mean, I can't tell them enough. You gotta love it, man. Like, you gotta love it more than you love pretty much anything, and it's like, it's hard to understand, and it's hard to really realize what's going on until you get a chance to do it. And it's like, yeah, it really is not a lot of sleep, and you just got to really love hunting.
Yeah, and I mean,
you're just not going to make it.
That's going to kind of go into what I wanted to ask you next about the deer tour this year and how your season went. But I can only imagine how tired you guys must get, because the amount of hunting that I do is non-existent compared to how much you do. And I know doing a couple all-day sits, I'm freaking tired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. We've gotten a little bit better at, just being efficient and working together to get, kind of to a point where we can give each other a little bit of breaks. Just the way that we in the way that we post kind of like, maybe like we go to 2 different places, like that kind of helped, at least keep us alive. But, it's still hunting and editing and being on the road and traveling and for, September 1 till, when we did it till sometime in the first 2 weeks of January, so that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time to keep going every day. I mean, that's wild, man.
And only break I can remember is Colorado to visit my girlfriend a couple times, once in October and November.
There you go. You got to keep time to make time for family and girlfriends and everything else. I mean, that's super important.
Barely do. Do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of the struggle, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the risks involved with working at the hunting public.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. That's crazy. But why don't we get a little bit into the deer tour? Like, where did you guys kind of come up with the idea of the coolest thing ever, the deer tour? And how was your season kind of this year? I mean, it seemed pretty eventful to me.
Yeah, I mean, what we came up with, I mean, for years we've been talking about, like, we got to get to more states, Yeah, we started at Midwest Whitetail doing this is ultimately why the hunting public started. We wanted to do this at Midwest Whitetail, but the opportunity wasn't there. We talked for years at Midwest Whitetail. We got to travel more. We got to hit these states. We got to hit home for our viewers, right?
Yeah.
And, we knew it'd be tough hunting, but like we were willing to just go for it. And we thought, even if we fail, at least people will learn from our mistakes.
Right.
And, we can learn together. Like it's just always been kind of the vision, I guess. And we started doing it for turkey when we were at Midwest Whitetail. When we did Spring Thunder, we did it the first year there, like traveled and hunted public land, and we got to do this. Like, we got to do this with our life. And the opportunity just wasn't there to do it for deer. Just the way that, things worked there. It was just like, there was not enough time to go travel and hunt. And I guess that was really what we wanted to do with our lives. And then, that's kind of how the deer tour started. We wanted to do it in, 2017 hunting season, but just didn't have any money at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So had to work with Iowa, but we were still able to hunt Iowa a lot this year and travel. I mean, we went to September 1st was Greg, Logan, and I went to Nebraska. Ted, Jake, and Aaron went to Kentucky. Shot 3 bucks in the first 5 days of seasons being open.
Yeah, talk about opening up a deer tour, man. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That helps traction when you knock them down like that.
Heck yeah. Especially yours.
Yeah, well, they were all just crazy hunts, right?
Yeah.
They were all just really, really wild, kind of almost once in a lifetime type hunts to a certain degree. I mean, you're on a traveling and, all those situations were unique, and it was just how did we just get that lucky,
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some, we obviously got ourselves into the right positions, but there's still some luck involved being able to find those deer, It's just just crazy. We felt pretty lucky, and then kind of got a quick realization of, hey, this isn't always going to be easy when we went to Minnesota. And I mean, guys in our group shot bucks, but doing the Public Land Challenge, Jake was, I guess, our guy, if you want to say it that way. That
right.
We were using, kind of our strategy, and we didn't really do any good at all there. I mean, I shouldn't say that. We learned a lot. We were close, but we were actually just dealing with a lack of pressure, and we were overshooting a lot of things. We were bumping a lot of deer, and that was just a quick hey, remember, it's not always going to be that easy.
I thought it was kind of an interesting thing because you guys kind of have the Dan Infalt sort of style almost, like the run and gun, the hunt and buck beds and things like that. But it was really interesting to see Dan was going,
3 hours?
3 hours every day to a different spot. And then Jake was going and hunting places. And then it was just absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, Dan was hunting an area and he had something in mind, and that's what what those 2 guys did. I mean, both him and Joe.
Yeah, him and Joe. Yep.
They went hunting an area more so than they went hunting, figuring out a spot. I mean, I guess I don't. That's kind of the same thing. But does that make sense? They literally were just bouncing pieces of public. The first few days just trying to find, where they could see the habitat that they were looking for, I guess. And it makes a lot of sense. if you know what you're looking for. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, we were just trying to track something completely different than what we'd never seen. So
Right.
there's two different approaches there, which is cool. I think just goes to show you can do it either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Garrett from what's his channel?
DIY.
DIY Sportsman.
Yep.
I mean, he even had a different theory about it. He was hunting the hills and climbing up the hills every day. I mean, that was even crazy.
Yeah, and I hunted with Jake quite a bit on that trip, and there was even some days that we stayed extra that we really didn't post because nothing happened. But we tried super hard, guys. Like, tried so hard, like put so much effort in. Like, I remember really feeling like we were grinding it out. I know it's super cliche, but when you hear it's super cliche to say, we hunted hard, and I think that means something different for everybody. But we were trying extremely hard and putting a lot of effort into it, and we just kept striking out. What ended up happening was, like, early we were like bumping everything, right?
Right.
Like, we were too close to the access points, and like we messed up a lot there. And then once we kind of got on that pattern and realized we were messing things up, they were starting to shift.
Yeah.
So we were just like behind, and it was just like, man, and that's an oddball time of the season to hunt too. And I don't want to make any excuse with that, but it's just like, that just goes to show how much you have to be on hot sign. You got to be on the deer when they're doing what they're doing, because if you're hunting sign that's a week old, you're a week behind.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
like, it's just, that's what we just preach all season, is like, find where they are today. Don't find where they are last week. Find where they are today.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it kind of blew my mind. Like, you guys, I would typically go and like try and look at the terrain features and then figure out a spot, and then knowing me, I'd probably find a spot that I liked and I'd probably stay there. You guys were like, oh, sign's not hot, we'll keep moving, and that was awesome, and that was a learning experience for me as well.
Yeah, that's what ended up getting Dan 3 hours away. Like he said, he was when he went there, he was looking for one specific thing, and when it wasn't there, he was just going to travel till he found that one specific thing, because that's what he knows, that's what he's comfortable with.
Yep,
that's the secret. I mean, like we were talking before we got on here about scent control and the whatever you can go on for days about what bow to shoot, what's the fastest bow, what's the best camo, what's the best tree, what's the lightest tree stand, blah blah. What kills bucks is hot sign and where they are today.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no other secrets to it.
Absolutely.
You have to be where the deer are. And it may not be that far off, but if you're further than 150 yards, a lot of times you're not in the game. And the only way that you're going to know that, if you're in the game or not, is being mobile and checking for hot sign. I mean, the main reason that we have these mobile type hunting styles, like hunting on the ground or hunting from tree saddles or, light tree stand setups. The reason that we do that is so we can stay on the hot sign as often as we can, and if we're not, we're pretty upset.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than going in, getting set up, realizing the sign's not hot, and realizing you wasted a bunch of time because, you weren't trying hard enough to find it.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
makes sense.
And no one likes getting skunked.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's actually one of the points I wanted to touch on with you, is you guys do a lot of mobile scouting. And I wanted to know how you decipher between like the really fresh sign to hunt compared to maybe older sign or even nighttime sign. And do you just relate it to bedding more or less?
So we generally have, with enough experience looking for it at this point, a lot of times in a given piece, we can get pretty darn close to where we think the best bedding locations are going to be on a given roadblock, for example. A lot of different states, a lot of different habitat types. Like, you just get enough experience looking for it and finding it that you can just see it on a map beforehand, or at least close. So when we're like out of state, for example, we've already got, bedding areas marked on a map, potential bedding areas and places that we think the deer are going to be for one reason or another. Then we have all those points and we start creating like little routes of like, okay, we're going to go from the truck to this bedding area and loop back to the car. If nothing's good, go to the next spot. And then you do that enough to where you just start eliminating, and then also realizing what type of, food sources deer are staging on or feeding on within their bedding area. So then you can start to quickly maybe even eliminate places without even being there. You just get to a point where you're just like, you get this big, you got to take, in some situations, I don't know, let's say 60,000 acres, you got to take that down to 20 yards. And you want to put yourself in the highest hot spot. So like, the more ground you cover and the more you get a gauge of like what type of terrain and habitat the deer are in at that specific time, you know, the higher your odds are for getting yourself down to that 20 yards. It's a challenging thing to do for sure, but like we feel, you know, you could set up in one decent spot all day, every day, especially like during a rut hunt, and you probably kill a buck, or you could probably have an opportunity or have a close call. But like, we want to have as many close calls as we possibly can on the trip, because there's a number of times it's not going to work out. And if you have several hot spots, let's say we're on a 7-day trip and we're on day 4. If I don't feel like we've got 3 good spots to just like really focus on by the end, we're in trouble. We're behind, you know? So the first 3 or 4 days, you're really scouting, maybe doing some observations, you know, whatever you may be, you're scouting, you're figuring it out. And then your last like half of the trip or 3 days or whatever it may be, that's when you're going for your best spots. You're getting aggressive on, you know, what you've found and what you've deemed then at that point a hot sign.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard you mentioning it, and I wanted to go off on that point for a second, but let's take it back to the deer tour. So you guys were in Minnesota. You got your butts kicked. So how'd you bounce back? Where'd you go from there?
Well, so then what was next? So we went to Minnesota, and then and then after Minnesota even, then it just kind of got slow. I mean, we had some good encounters. October 1st, right after we got our butts kicked in Minnesota, Ted and I got really close to a nice 10-pointer on opening day, which was just fun. I mean, just having a good encounter on opening day was exciting and encouraging. That was in Iowa. Mm-hmm. And then...
Was that the hunt you guys got stuck out there? You went after him. He was bedded near you, right?
I thought we went out. We saw him. Like, I had literally just got back from Minnesota the night before. Yeah. And Ted and I went driving around, and we saw that buck coming out right at last light, and we just went right in for his bedding area the next evening. Okay. And kind of scouted our way around in the morning, eliminated an area of where we thought he was going, and then kind of looped around him and went in and got eyes on him. And he was darn close to us today. Yeah. Just didn't pan out. But we basically set right up on that buck, inside of 60 yards probably. And, you know, that was kind of an encouraging deal. And then, you know, really all of October continued to just be like a lot of good encounters, but kind of, I mean, being a little bit more picky in our home state. And then Jake ended up, well, I can't remember which one happened first, but I remember one day I was in my car, it was a warm day, and Aaron called me and he's like, "Hey dude, just shot one in Missouri." So he shot a buck at his dad's farm, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then that was a hell of a buck. And then Jake shot one really close to that time frame there. And I think it would have been, I want to say last 10 days of October sometime in there. And then right when we were trying to go to Missouri and Ohio, I shot a buck in Iowa.
Yep.
We had a lot of good. We finally found what we were looking for there in Iowa. And that was kind of a fun string of hunts there where, like, there was one day, it was like, we're on it. We found it. This is the spot. And then I didn't have anybody to go with for several days. And then as soon as we went back in there, it was literally on fire. Like, the first few does in the area were hot. And, like, we just knew that was going to be the case. And, like, we would have been in there sooner. But, like, ended up panning out and just having, you know, really 2 of the craziest days of rut hunting you could ask for.
Oh, yeah. That's just a stinking magical time, man. When you find those first hot does, it's on.
Well, I mean, you know, we're hunting in Iowa for a month roughly, you know, straight. So, like, the whole month, we're looking for that. Like, we're seeking, like, where's the most big bucks we can find. You know, you're just kind of seeking that. You're looking for the best sign. And we had zoned in on a couple spots, but that ultimately ended up being the best place that I've ever hunted in October. I mean, and it was just because it was on fire. There was a lot of deer packed in there for that year. There's some conditions that had changed for access. I don't think a lot of people were coming in there because it was so wet. We just took advantage of that, and we were all over them.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's exciting to watch, too.
Yeah, it was phenomenal content. There were literally bucks everywhere.
Bucks everywhere, and just, like, big ones.
Yeah. There were a couple just goons in there, man. Jeez. Holy crap.
I mean, even the buck that we ended up getting a shot at, never really mentioned it, but if you go back and look at the videos from last year, there's a video where Jake and I, we're still hunting down an edge, and I have that heads-up decoy that I carry sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that big 8-point comes right up to us, and I got drawn on him and everything, but he ended up just getting weirded out because we did not have enough cover.
Yeah, that's when you guys got
I don't know
stuck
if you
out.
guys remember that
You
one
got
or
stuck
not.
out in the open.
Yeah, you were doing an interview, I think.
Yeah, we were totally doing an interview, totally being stupid. Well, that buck is for sure the same one that I ended up shooting, and I shot him in the same exact spot. Like where his body is when I shoot him is where Jake and I were sitting when he came into us with the decoy.
That's
it's
so
him,
cool.
Yeah.
It's him for sure.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That
I didn't
is really
realize
cool.
I didn't realize it till a couple days later when I watched the video,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, "I'll be darned, it sure is." I mean,
Yeah. Well, I
there's
know what
like
I'll
no
be doing.
denying it.
I'll be going back and watching those 2 videos again tonight
Yeah.
Yeah.
because that's
Yep.
cool to relate that
If you
back.
look at his beams, you look at the way his beams swoop and his brow tines kind of kick out. I mean, what's crazy is that buck was a big, like a huge buck then.
Yeah, I'd have shot it all day, man.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's just an absolute tank. Like, his neck is giant, his head's giant, and then this year he's just real freaky looking.
Yeah, you put a great shot on him though, man. That was a cool hunt.
Yeah.
Really cool hunt.
Yeah, that was fun. That's the way I like to do it. I mean, I like to hunt them on the ground. They're at eye level.
Mhm.
There's really not much else like it.
Oh, yeah. I kind of want to go off on a little bit of a tangent about that real quick.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So, you, man, you're like, this year it didn't even seem like you were in the stand at all. It seemed like you were on the ground with the ghillie suit just getting after it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're doing the ground assault, is what I'm going to refer to it as,
Yeah.
do you find that that's like more advantageous to you that you're on the ground rather than in the stand, or what made you
Do I-
kind of decide to like?
Do I feel like it's advantageous? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that's like a better strategy for you as opposed to
Yeah.
being in the stand? Because I feel like when I hunt the ground, because I do it sometimes too, but I feel like I'm constantly fighting myself to be like, oh, dude, I wish I could see more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, I guess I could give you the quick background of what got me into it, I guess, if you're interested in that.
Absolutely.
I may
Sounds
explain-
good to me.
I may explain, like, more of why I do it, and for a number of different reasons, I guess. So, like, take a step back at the very beginning. When I was a kid, man, like, when I was a little kid, I'd stalk deer all the time in the summer. Like, see a doe out in the bean field, like, just start crawling on it. See how close you can get to a deer. And, like, oftentimes in the summer, they're not expecting it. You can get pretty darn close.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, I just never one time did that with a gun or a bow when I was growing up. I followed the rules. I sat in the tree stand all the time. And I honestly, there part of me hated it. Like, I'm not a patient dude. Like, guys, literally this whole time I'm talking to you, since, like, you know, originally called however long ago at this point. Like, I've been pacing back and forth, like,
I can hear it.
Walking.
I can tell in your voice. I can just tell you're like all
Hyped
over the
up.
place.
I
Yeah.
love
Yep.
it.
Hyped up
Moving.
about deer hunting.
yeah, so, like, I like to move. I like to like, and then I like to talk. I like to talk a lot. And if I'm hunting with somebody, which I was a lot, I'm talking too much and I'm moving around. I'm just impatient, and I messed up, you know, a number of opportunities doing that. Growing up, you're gonna have you're hunting with your buddies, and you're impatient. You're gonna spook deer in a tree stand, and especially in Ohio, where a lot of your tree stands or your trees are not very good for cover. A lot of straight trees, and get picked off often. And deer are used to looking up for hunters, you know.
Oh, yeah. big
Anyway,
time.
got flustered. Oh, and also I don't like the shot. I never liked the shot on a tree stand, because a lot of times I was hunting pretty hilly terrain, or, like I said, didn't have a good tree to get into, so I got way up there. And I never liked the shot angle. And I don't know, I didn't like carrying a tree stand either, mobile hunting. I don't like the weight of it. And then one day, I found Whitetail Adrenaline. And, like, the
Oh,
first
dude.
time I watched one of those DVDs, I was like, I gotta do that.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do that. And it made me start thinking about when I was a kid, all the times I'd stalk up on deer, and all the times, you know, you hear stories of people, you know, they see a buck with a doe, or they are walking into their tree stand, or they're pulling their tree. Even my dad shot one at 7 yards when he was putting his tree stand together at the bottom of the tree one time. You know,
Awesome.
so it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you're thinking about all those situations. I really can get out there and try it on the ground. At first, it was a bit of at first, honestly, it was like, real quick, it was like, well, this is going to work. We have, you know, I think one of the first ground hunts I ever did, there was like We're set up on a ground. It was a hot day, set up on a small pond right in the middle of a bedding area. And like right off the bat, had a doe at so close I could hear her breathing.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew. I was like, this will work. Because I drew on her and everything. And we kept doing it kind of on and off in 2016. And then 2017, just did it quite a bit more. And then last year, it was finally when it was like, I think I realized that it was advantageous to do it. Like the reason is you can get almost always close enough to where to where the deer is. You know, like you can, like if you're in a tree stand, you're limiting yourself to a loud tree stand, clanking around and carrying that thing in, getting hung up on stuff. Yeah, if you're limiting yourself to that, then you can't always get close enough. But like hunting on the ground, you can always get close enough. And it also allows for just like easy. You're never in this situation when you're hunting on the ground. You never go out there and start scouting your way in and don't see the hot sign and then be like, I'm tired of going anymore. Like I gotta just set up.
Yeah.
You never do that.
Yeah.
You may never set up in an evening, and that's great because you never waste your time on, not hot sign. You never waste your time in a spot where there's not deer coming through or they're not living in there. You just keep going until you find it, which is giving you a heads. It may not seem like that productive at the time, but then now you know for the next hunt. And maybe that's the next weekend. Maybe that's the next day. Maybe it's that afternoon. You're efficient. You're not wasting time setting up because you feel like you have to. When you carry a stand, you feel like you have to. I think that's ultimately like why I feel like it's so much more effective. And for me, it's just, also just want to be mobile. I like walking. I like feeling like it's just an active sport versus a sitting sport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, dude, that makes total sense. I mean, I'm constantly, when we find a different, like a new piece or when we're scouting in the early season and stuff like that, I'm constantly like, there's a ridge right there. We got to see what's over the next ridge. It's just kind of that mindset.
Yeah, but I think it also allows you to make those just on-the-fly adjustments, and I've seen that in a couple of your videos where you guys, hey, we've seen 2 or 3 bucks go through the same area. Why don't we just get our butts over there and hunt that area, and and you get an opportunity from it.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely one of my favorite parts about it. I mean, it's funny now that I do that so much. It's like, I mean, it's honestly just, it's frustrating or disappointing. I don't know what exactly the word is for it, but when I see now or hear somebody say, oh, every day they're over there, they always cross that ridge over there about 40 yards too far. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? Or like, here's the craziest one. Here's the one that just absolutely blows my mind. We saw our target buck go into that bedding area over there with the doe this morning, so we're just going to back out and hopefully here in the next couple of days we'll get the right wind. Bold, man. Like, I'm going in there now. Like, I'm going in there as soon as I see him go in there.
Yeah, he's
getting
there.
As close. Yeah. And I mean, what do you mean wait for the perfect condition? The perfect condition is the condition that he's in that spot that you are allowed to be on.
Yeah.
Like if you're allowed to hunt there, public, private, whatever, if he's on it, like that's the perfect condition. I think ground hunting has made me think that way. When I was younger, I guess I wouldn't say I would ever bail out for the perfect condition if I knew one was there, but it's like when I was younger, I hunted more, played it safe. If everything wasn't perfect, I'd leave, and it's just like, I don't know, ground hunting now is just, like, I don't even have to have a plan, really. Like,
Yeah.
I can just go hunting. I can just pick my bow up and start walking, and it's like, sometimes those are the best days.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, you see it a lot, but I mean, I guess I can see both sides of it, because I know I was the same way. I'd be in a tree stand, and I'd see some deer moving, 60, 70 yards away, and I'm like, man, I should get down and adjust and go over there. But then I fight myself, and I go back and forth the whole time. And
it's because it takes too much time. It's a huge factor, and that's why I just like getting a vantage and then moving in.
Right.
It's like
right.
You see me hunt those creek bottoms a lot. The reason I hunt those is because I can get up on an edge. I can get an elevation looking down over the creek bottom, and I can just like keep a consistent wind on that edge, and I can just hunt down that edge until I start seeing what I want to see. I know I know from scouting these areas in the past too where they're dead. So, I'm just kind of hunting an edge, and I just keep hunting edges. Those are, in that example, it's like I'm just hunting a really hard transition line, but I just keep moving until I find what I want to see. And that's ultimately like how we ended up getting that buck.
Oh, yeah.
There in late October.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, realistically, that makes the most sense out of all of it. You see the buck, you see the sign, hunt that rather than, oh, well, historically they've kind of come through here.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, like, it's also no question that, like, and I'm not going to argue this either. Like, it's obviously no question that, like, setting up in places that you've seen them do stuff before works. I mean, don't overthink it to a certain degree too, but unless they do it all year in that spot, which there's not a lot of spots in anywhere, in any state that they do it, live at the same spot all year. Rarely does that happen. It has to have, the habitat has to be so good that, throughout the year as certain things die and certain things, certain food sources are, the one of choice, at least. You have to have all that there, say, the whole year for a spot that's traditionally good to be good just whenever to go set up on.
Yeah, we can go off that on a few different routes, but I wanted to ask you one last thing, though, based on ground hunting, because I was I'm curious in what you find are the differences in, like, wind currents and thermals hunting from the ground, and compare that to, like, hunting out of a stand.
Better.
Yeah.
Way easier to manage.
Yeah, see, that's what I've felt, too, because, like, I've heard you mention in the past when you drop your milkweed that, it just gets hung up in all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't move as much, and you don't see it swirl back around. Like when you're in a stand.
It's crazy, man. Like when you really start looking at like how much more at risk you are when you elevate yourself, it's insane. Your wind doesn't do that much when you're on the ground because it just gets hung up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put yourself up in the tree where you've got, nothing but air between you and the ground, think about how much it can do.
Right, and there's more.
And especially
there's
when
more
you start
wind
talking
up top.
about, we hunt really low. If we do hunt into a tree, like. The tree stand setups I was in this year, seriously, guys, none of them was above 10 foot.
Yeah.
Not even close. Like, they were just barely getting off the ground enough to be able to shoot down into something.
Yeah, that's what I want to work on.
So we hunt low on the ground.
Yep.
If we are in a tree, as low as we can, because the shot angle is better. Another reason is because you're not just blowing scent just all over the place, just willy-nilly out there. And like, a lot of people, you hear a lot of guys talking about getting 25, 30 foot up in a tree. No way. No way. We're not doing that. Yeah. I can guarantee you that. There's specific situations maybe for your shot angle, but like other than that, maybe you're hunting on a side hill and you want to get up really high to be able to shoot the trail, that's on the side hill in front of you. Yeah. Maybe that makes sense, but like other than that, just safety for one. And scent and, how quickly you can get up into a tree. Just stay low, And honestly, when you're hunting mobile and you're doing a lot of hang and hunt setups, or you're hunting on the ground, the deer aren't looking for you in that spot because they've never smelled a human there before. Or definitely not frequently enough to like want to check it, right?
Right. And we hunt in a more pressured state, and it's like you kind of said, hunting from Ohio. Those deer, especially those mature does, they come in, they're immediately looking in the trees.
They're looking up, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, but I do think being mobile, think about how often, too, that's a situation where that happens in a place where you've hunted before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're in a permanent setup, like that's why they're doing that. Think about the progression of a permanent setup. You go in there at some point in the year, and you make this like really ridiculous disturbance. You cut limbs, I'm thinking of a permanent, like, private land setup. There's all these crazy human scents, like you cut branches, if you do it in the summer, you probably are smelling pretty weird, you're just wearing whatever, you're sweating a lot. And then you leave, and as soon as the deer come in there, they're like, oh, that's different. That changed. I can smell that.
Yeah.
So every time that happens, and you're hunting in a pressured state or pressured area, public land or heavily pressured private, they know what that means. They know, especially mature buck and mature doe, they know that means, hey, bad is there.
Yeah.
Like danger is going to be there. And yeah, it may be in the perfect spot. And yeah, they may still go through there. But you bet your butt they're going to be checking every single time they go through that spot whether that's by circling downwind of it. I mean, it makes me wonder how many times guys in permanent setups are just, the buck simply just goes downwind of that stand every single time in a spot that they don't even see. And you never even know that the buck's spooked.
Oh, yeah.
He may never even leave either. And oh man, guys, I'm getting fired up.
Hey, that's okay, man. That's okay. We feel the same way.
So like, there's also like, I think there's also situations where that same guy, you know, he's watching his trail camera and it's like the buck's coming through there every single day. Maybe it's an October pattern. Maybe he's going to maybe some sort of, you know, food source that's hot at that time, whether it's acorns or an alfalfa field. It doesn't matter. Maybe he's got a consistent pattern of a buck going through that. And every time he goes into his stand, he doesn't see anything. But then the buck pops back up on camera again a couple days later. That buck never left. He realized that you were in there one way or another. Whether he sees you, smells you, hears you come in. He knows that you're there one way or another, and then he just shifts his pattern very, very slightly. And then as soon as he knows you're back out of there, goes right back to doing the same thing. Now, this comes into play with this aggressive hunting tactics that we're always talking about. So many people get caught up about worrying about bumping a deer out of where he lived. So many people are worried about it. They don't leave. They don't hardly ever just totally bail and like go to a different property for forever. I'm not saying that deer in certain habitats and certain situations, like for example, deer around where I grew up in Western Ohio, I know from really, really watching them a lot, you know, grew up there. They move a lot more from bedding area to bedding area than they do in Iowa, for example, on public land, where there's really, really good habitat, where they don't have to leave as much.
Yeah.
But in Western Ohio, they move and bounce around bedding areas because they can't just like exhaust their resources in one bedding area. They have to continue to bounce and kind of let things come back, and they are just constantly changing. So I'm not saying that deer don't move, but a lot of times it's not because of your hunting pressure. They know how to avoid you, and a lot of hunters hunt very predictably. Therefore, the deer pick up on them well before they pick up on what the deer are doing.
No.
I think that that's just kind of a bad habit that, you know, permanent setups and habitual hunting habits kind of create. You know, if you're going into your farm every day for 20 years and you're parking at the same spot, I'll bet you there's a percentage of your deer population that knows you're hunting that day and will never be anywhere around your setup.
Oh, man, I couldn't agree more with that. And, you know, one thing that you mentioned, like, guys hunting their trail camera, they go in and they check, and they're like, oh, this buck came in on this point, this buck came at this point. You know, with you guys and trail cameras, I've seen you guys talk about it a little bit, but you guys don't seem to use trail cameras to your advantage. You kind of use them for, like, historical data from what I kind of pick up from it.
Yeah,
like, you guys leave them out all season.
The last few years, I haven't owned a trail camera. We've just kind of had 5 or 6 or whatever that we kind of throw up occasionally. And, you know, some people in our group like them more than, you know, use them more than others. And
right.
I've honestly been pretty open about the last few years, like not using them in season. Like I don't have any like interest in wanting to use them during season because I personally just enjoy the process of scouting and not knowing, right? Like not knowing what's there. I don't want any inventory. I don't want to have a hit lister. I don't want to know any patterns. I just want to try to figure it out by looking at tracks and just deer sign in general. Right?
Yeah. I feel like people kind of fall into that trap more frequently than not.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a trap. That's what I guess I'm ultimately going to get at. But I also think it can help with the solution too, to where they can still be, I think that it can be a very helpful tool, but you got to be careful with them, right? You can't become too dependent on them. So here's, I guess, my solution or our solution at the hunting public for the last few years. There's 2 different types of trail camera uses. There's like a long term and then there's the short term. A lot of people, you know, at this point are using their short term as like something that they're putting on a scrape and they're checking it and then they're wanting to hunt right over it. They're doing a lot of just like hunting right over their short-term trail cameras. That's wrong. Delete that idea. In our opinion, the way to do that is have previously scouted bedding areas, right? You have 40 bedding areas. It doesn't matter. You have a whole bunch of bedding areas that you've got previously scouted. Go to a place around those bedding areas where you know deer go that they're used to smelling human scent. So, for example, let's say you've got a bedding area scouted out and it's on a high rise and, you know, they think you know exactly where you think they're bedding. you know that you could go in and get a setup within, 100 yards of that specific bedding area. But you don't necessarily know when, or you don't necessarily know what time of year the deer are using that bedding area. Maybe it's something you found in the off season, which I could go on a whole different tangent about, like the dangers of off season, scouting right now too. But here's one solution to the dangers of off season scouting at this time frame: is you go and you put a trail camera on that place that the deer used to find in a lot of human scent. So you know right where they're bedded. But what we do a lot on public land, because we have no expectation of seeing a mature buck showing up on an open field in daylight, we put our trail camera like on an access path going through a field, or on a field edge on a scrape, whatever it may be. And in the short term, you go out there, you check that trail camera. So let's say you put that camera up on September 20th and you go back on October 5th. And fairly consistently, there's a mature buck coming to that camera from the direction of that known bedding area. Now, to get aggressive and get in there and hunt that bedding area, because that's where you can assume that he's coming from. Or maybe there's multiple bedding areas back there, and from your camera, you scout your way back to both those bedding areas. And maybe you get to the first one, and you're like, he ain't here. None of these rubs are opened up, none of these scrapes are opened up. But then you get to the next one, there's big buck tracks coming in and out, maybe going across the creek crossing, you seeing big rubs, you seeing scrapes lit up. Now hey, that's probably where he's coming from. So, like, in the short term, if you're going to use your trail camera, just be careful and realize that, it has to be in a place that, if you want to check it, it has to be in a place that the deer are used to smelling people, or human presence, being a fairly consistent thing. Crop field, close to a parking lot, maybe, an access path, there's a number of different things. Maybe just simply open timber. It doesn't have to be a food source or a field or anything. I mean, it could be, if you're in a really highly pressured area, it could be an oak flat where you think the deer are feeding inside the timber, I mean, you just have to know if you're going to use them in that sense. You have to have, it really helps to previously have scouted the bedding areas, or be efficient enough at finding beds that you can just take guesses. You're just trying to, maybe you are trying to do inventory. You're just trying to see, okay, on this piece of public land, there is a big buck. And now that I know there's a big buck here, I may have never hunted it, but, I'm going to look at this map and I'm just going to go from, one spot to another looking for that hot sign coming out of that bedding area.
Yep, that paid off dividends for us this year, man. Like our scouting in the early season and the off season, like finding those bedding areas that we felt were like not super highly pressured and like those overlooked areas paid dividends huge this year for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that doing that is one way, and then we'd also mention like kind of that long-term historical data too. That's what we just call a long-term trail camera. I mean, literally throw the sucker out, go back to it, and just see. And you're just like, oh, that's how they're using this bedding area. That's the time of the year that they used it, or at least in that given year. That can definitely be effective too. I mean, I know there's examples of us taking advantage of that as well, but.
Well, it's kind of like what you guys say all the time on your podcast and stuff. Everything is so situational.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the toughest parts about deer hunting. It really is that there's no answer for anything, really. I mean, I think that's kind of the beauty of it. Is like, no matter how many bucks you shoot, or no matter how many times you think you did everything right, there's still a situation that you've never seen. And I think that's just, I guess that's just it. Why we always say just got to get out there and saying there's dangers with scouting at this time of the year, but at the same time, here to say that I truly believe that every single time you have a chance to be outside or driving around or just anywhere where you're around white-tailed deer, I don't care if you're, 10 states to the west of the state that you're in, and you're just there for, hanging out there for business. You see a deer, think about why it's there.
Yeah.
The more experience you get seeing deer, thinking about why they're there, understanding why they're there, I mean, just the more situations that you can understand while you're out in the field actually hunting,
Yeah, I definitely find myself doing that more just driving down the road since listening to podcasts and looking at where deer are and looking in areas where I feel deer should be. And then circling back to the trail camera thing, I just wanted to comment. I mean, people fall in love with trail cameras, and I feel like they'd rather have a picture. Yeah, they are addicting, and people want that picture. Like, they want to show off that picture to their buddies, but, you know,
Man,
you're not killing a
cracks me up.
picture. You're not putting a picture up on your wall of your deer. Do you want to kill the deer, or do you want to get its picture? You know?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it
drives me nuts.
it's silly to me, really, that, you know, how many times, oh man, this term just really gets at me. How many times have you read or like seen in like a topic, whether like, I don't know, you know how like some podcasts, videos or whatever, like will have like what you'll learn in this media, like how, like whatever it may be an article, it may be a book, it may be podcast, video, whatever. And one of the terms that I've read on multiple occasions just irritates the heck out of me is how to get better trail camera pictures.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, seriously? That's a serious topic? You know, like, I it's got to the point for me that I don't want to ever put too much trust in a camera, because I also don't want to put too much trust in myself that I actually turned the damn thing on when I walk away from it.
I've done that too, man.
Yeah, so how disappointing is that?
Man.
So it's like, you bank so much on trail cameras and you're just going to end up disappointed in some situations, or you're not going to see the type of bucks you want to see, or, you know, when you don't check them so consistently, you're just more free and you feel more open. Now, I think that they're still, when they were invented, they were invented for, you know, wildlife research, essentially. It's like why the trail camera was invented. So, like, think about it in that sense. Try to research just general deer and movements and patterns, and you'll end up learning more from them than you will like just trying to get a picture of a big buck, you know.
Yeah, no, agreed, man.
So
Man, I get fired up about it.
yeah, I know. We had you already riled up, and then we just went right into trail cameras. I figured while we got you fired up, let's just throw another topic at you that's going to get you going.
For sure. No, I mean, I'm not, and don't get me wrong too when I say I'm fired up or like seem frustrated. It's just simply because I know that, you know, ultimately everybody's goal, or for the most part, no, I'm sure there actually are people out there that want to get better trail camera pictures, and I shouldn't, you know, just simply because they're interested in getting pictures of trail cameras. So I don't want to necessarily put down anybody's opinion, but if your goal is to like shoot more, you know, bigger bucks more frequently, then you have to have a different mindset of these tactics, or I just know that, let's put it this way, I just know that there's more efficient ways to do it than what people kind of grow accustomed to, or what people are being taught, you know, sadly, incorrectly, you know. So
Yeah.
it just gets me fired up because I want people to have the best experience out there as they can, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we're a firm believer in just honestly getting boots on the ground and getting out there and checking stuff out.
So let's go more in depth then, because one topic I feel like you have a lot of knowledge with that you can help people be successful is buck bedding. You guys focus on buck bedding, and this is a topic that when we start talking about on our podcast, we kind of get some pushback in this area, like, oh, you don't know whether it's the difference of a buck or a doe or whatnot. But I want you to talk.
It's so straightforward.
It really is. And whenever I started listening to podcasts and learning what buck bedding was, and I applied it to my knowledge out in the field and scouting in the off season, I mean, it is literally day and night difference, and it's black and white. There is no gray area. But I want you to get into more or less kind of the areas of buck bedding. And I guess where I wanted to start with this was oxbows. We see a lot of oxbows around here. We have a lot of creeks and cricks. It's cricks around here, and rivers and different things
whatever.
yeah. But I don't know. Maybe if you want to kind of get into explaining what oxbows are for the people that don't know, and why bucks prefer to bed there.
Yeah. So I mean, tough thing about buck bedding, and you know, where I say it's so straightforward, or I say it's so, or you know, we're saying it's so night and day. I mean, the tough part about explaining buck bedding, you know, on just generally speaking, like on a podcast like this, and it's nice to have oxbow to start with.
Mm-hmm.
The tough part about buck bedding is like there's a lot of places that a buck wants to bed. You know, I'll just start by saying, as far as buck bedding goes, I mean, we could talk about different habitat types and different terrain types for, I mean, literally days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, we don't expect you to go that crazy on it, but yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, really ultimately here's what it takes, you know, or at least at this point what we feel has allowed us to zone in on buck bedding, specifically mature buck bedding, one's going to consistently bed for at least a decent chunk of the season. They need to have food, water, security, and does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But those factors can vary and they can vary from bed to bed, and they can vary from terrain feature to terrain feature, just habitat types in general. And then the one thing that, stays pretty darn consistent is a mature buck is going to bed where people very, 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 very rarely ever go. I mean, it's like the place that people go the least in the whole county. You can guarantee there's going to be a mature whitetail buck bedding there. Just because that's where they're safe, right? Especially in highly pressured states. But as far as an oxbow and why, I guess we think that that's, why it has all those things and why they use them so consistently. I guess first, let's talk about what an oxbow is. It's
Right.
a bend or meander in a river. So a lot of times it's shaped like a horseshoe. So it's basically where the river, kind of bends, and on the inside of that bend would be like the inside of the horseshoe. And if you go and you scout those areas, a lot of times there's buck bedding around those. And I mean, if you're visualizing this, or if you're sitting at home listening, you can kind of draw an oxbow. If you start kind of putting dots right up against the river, on either side of the river, you can start to understand why, I guess consistency in the bedding there is because one whole side of where that buck is bedding, or multiple sides if they're bedding on the inside of that bend,
Right.
is blocked off by water, in some situations quite a bit of water.
Mm-hmm.
And a deer can swim across anything, but a lot of times predators are not coming from that water, especially humans. At this
Right.
point in the Midwest or East, deer's really only a mature buck's only predator is a human. The only thing that he's, I shouldn't say the only thing, but the thing he's most concerned about.
Yeah, we got some
Especially
bears up
as you
here.
go east. What's that?
I said we got some bears up here too.
Yeah, well,
But-
okay, that's true. But
But no, you're right.
For
Yeah.
the most part, they're mostly concerned about hunters.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bear too, bear isn't just gonna blatantly just run across the river very often without a buck knowing if he's bedding right against it.
Right. And if they do, he's going to hear them, and he's going to, or see them in most cases,
Right.
and he's going to take off.
So,
But
for
go
one-
ahead. I'm sorry.
So for one, he's got security. That's what he's gonna get bedding around that river. Another thing is he can see down the river channels. A lot of times they'll bed to where they can see down around a bend of the river. They can see to the right and to the left, whatever side they're on. And then another thing is water. Obviously, they've got a water source there. And they've got an escape route that's pretty killer. If something is coming from the water, they just run away from the water. And if something's coming from the ground, they just can, if they need to, they can go right across the river. And a lot of times that's given them a head start because they are so agile. Another thing is a lot of times down in the river bottom, they've got a lot of variation in food. They've got a lot of just natural browse, lots of just low vegetation, as well as things like pin oaks, maples that are dropping maple leaves. Maybe in some situations you got hedge that grows down along a river or creek. There's just a number of different things that the deer are feeding on down in there that they don't ever have to leave that little area that they're bedding there along the river. They've got their water, they've got food right in their beds. So, they can stick really tight to that.
Yeah.
And then also there's, like I said, there's going to be does around them too. And a lot of times, you're going to find deer that are bedding specifically on those oxbows. And, if you go and you scout them, or maybe you're on a place and maybe you're like, well, this is stupid because on the creek or river that I hunt, there's 20 oxbows in 5 miles. They could be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that means you just got to go in and you got to scout, the outside of them, get close enough to where you can see if they're using them, see if there's sign coming out of them without spooking them, and just keep bouncing to hit different oxbows. And then as far as setups go, you can really get creative if you got a deer bedding along water. You can use the water as access, whether you're using a kayak or canoe or boat, waders. You can use pretty creative access to get close to bucks that are bedded on rivers.
Oh yeah, this year
Specifically
especially.
oxbows.
I mean, I feel like we've kind of got a little bit more creative that way, seeing you guys use the kayaks and wading across the rivers and stuff, and that's kind of been a godsend for some of our different spots that we tried this year.
Yeah, I think just that was I guess kind of back in the Midwest whitetail days, the creative access was our kind of the thing that we talked about more so than maybe anything at that time. It's just we were always, and we still do every single hunt to this day, just like people are more interested in talking about buck beds and stuff at this point. But it's like, back in the day, I felt like we were really, really just trying to explain, the importance of looking for ways to get in there without deer knowing, and we still do that. I guess every single hunt, it's just we don't talk about it as much. But using creeks and using water as access is just a phenomenal tactic, and you can do it. You can even do it in the late season when stuff freezes. It's just if the ground gets real hard and everything's frozen, the ground can be pretty crunchy during the late season, which is one of the challenges of hunting late season.
Oh yeah, I mean,
if you got frozen water around that you can use to access the piece, that opens up a whole different level of being quiet to get in tight to bedding. And just hunting around water in general is never a bad idea. I mean, we're talking about oxbows, but I mean, sloughs, swamps, anything where water is present, deer, specifically big bucks, know that if they get around that water, it's like one side that like they can pretty much guarantee that like either nothing's coming from that way, or if something does, they're for sure going to know.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at you guys during gun season and stuff. You guys were walking down a frozen shoreline to get to places. I mean, I know Jake fell in, but but you guys were just creeping down those shorelines, and that had to have been way more quiet than walking through the grass and everything like that. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, one of the things I don't want to get too much into this, but there's a lot of people at this point that are very like anti-gun hunting, and say there's a fair number of people that say that it doesn't take any skill or anything, and like I'm here to completely oppose that because I've hunted gun seasons a lot. I mean, I've hunted a lot. Every single gun season, I hunt as much as I can, since I started hunting. And the last buck I shot with my gun was 9 years ago.
Oh man!
So and I've shot a lot more bucks with my bow than that. So, and it's not a lack of trying, like I said. So, I guess with that being said, it's like one of the things that I find so difficult about hunting during gun seasons and later in the season is just simply like having that access, like having access that allows us to get close enough to be where we need to be, to where we can basically be in their bedroom, because everybody knows on public land and pressured land anywhere in the country, when gun hunting pressures start, like those deer do not move much, especially the big bucks, and the only way they move a lot is, aggressive pressure. So, and that's how we've capitalized. I mean, I guess by saying I've never shot one personally, but I've been on hunts where, we were strategizing together and had a lot of close calls and stuff like that. I mean, we're in the game a lot, but it's still tough, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think one of the things that is so tough is you get crunchy conditions, but getting creative and using ice as your access is huge. I mean, it allowed us to get into a lot of places this season. That was one of my favorite parts about hunting this year during the gun season. It was so cold, you could use that ice.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were getting on deer super consistently, it looked like. I mean, you didn't necessarily get the shots and stuff, but
there was even other stuff that happened, though, where Classic couldn't get the camera on one. Like, there was one
I'm sure.
We got literally zero footage of him. We were set up on an escape route. It was the day after we saw that really big buck. Both Jake and I saw him.
That thing was a tank. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. We were set up in that same field on a major travel corridor, let's put it that way. So we were expecting, because it was the weekend, we were expecting a lot of traffic in that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, we had a buck right off the bat in the morning start escaping a bedding area and ran literally to 15 yards and stopped right under the tree. And we had the stupid camera on a camera arm instead of freehanding it. My buddy Keith, who I was with, there was not his fault at all. Like, the deer just came in the exact wrong spot, and there was just absolutely no way to get that camera over there. But, like, that's the kind of stuff that happens when you're filming, I guess.
Man, yeah.
There's literally so little footage of it that we couldn't even, make a video out of it because it wouldn't have even made any sense. You've been like, I don't want to get to 15 yards, and you guys not even get any footage of it. Well, it's possible.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit of a hard transition here. It's something that's kind of been I wanted to ask you all night, honestly. One thing that I've been really curious about for a really long time. Let's talk about necessarily the buck nest in general. I don't want to necessarily explain what the buck nest is and everything like that, but I've heard you guys mention multiple times that you want guys to get out there and you want them to experience the hunts that you guys do and everything like that. So how do you kind of weigh showing where you guys hunt and having people kind of encroach on those areas and like still make content? Like, how do you guys keep it together that way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Basically, like, how do we like deal with, basically, literally showing people. I mean, if people want to, and they
right,
they
literally
look at maps
showing
long
people
enough,
spots.
you can find it.
Right.
I mean, like, no doubt. I mean, I think I could.
Yeah.
I think I could find the buck nest on a map if I'd never been there and watched one video of it. I mean, truly, but we won't dive too much into how you can find it. But
right. Yeah. I don't want to give your spots away.
No. I mean, that's kind of ultimately what I'm going to get at. Is like, I don't really care. I mean, the truth of the matter is like, we want people to get out there and go hunting, and we sincerely do. We want more people to get out on public land. We want more people to get out and just get a hunting license, get into the sport, find a reason to care about public areas. Like, it's something that's so important to the country, like
absolutely.
Public lands and basically having places to go hunting and fishing, because that stuff's important. Like, it just is. Like,
I couldn't agree more, man.
So it's like, we want more people to get out there and do it. So the more we get people fired up about going out there and going on public land, the better. And if, we got to show a place where we see 5 mature bucks in one thicket, it's like, we have to. But I guess the point is like, yeah, people find our spots, and people, I'm sure more than we even know, but like, to be completely honest, a lot of the places that we hunt or shoot a buck, like, we just don't even hunt it. Like, we just move on right on to the next spot, because there's always another spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I guess we don't early on made this like unwritten rule of like, don't get attached,
right?
Like, to all of us, and we kind of hold ourselves accountable to that. Like, if somebody's starting to get too attached to something, we'd be like, dude, lay off. Like, if you're getting attached to a buck, or you're getting attached to a spot, or whatever it may be, because you never know when that something's going to change to where like you only get good at hunting one spot.
Right.
Like, what happens when next year, a group of 5 from Michigan and a group of 5 from Illinois come in and hunt that spot that you've been hunting for the last 5 years in Iowa? All of a sudden it went from, a couple guys here and there hunting it to 10 guys pounding it for, half a month or something. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You can't get attached. It could just be weird luck. I may not even watch the show. And a lot of times that's the case. A lot of times you get in there and, realize somebody's been hunting a spot and that wasn't hunting the year before, and you get to talking to them, and they never even watched it. It's just luck of the draw, but it's public land. I mean, it's the same thing happens to everybody as it does to us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're going to run into people that like just hunting, whatever your spot. I don't like that.
Your style.
Hunting the spot that you've been hunting.
Yeah, let's say they're
Right,
hunting
right.
the same style as you, and they just happen to stumble upon the same spot you guys found.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's what's so funny and fun about public land is like, you literally never know what's going to happen. Like, you never even know, like, unless you got cameras, like, literally littered all over the place. Like, you have no idea who's been in there.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's kind of ironic sometimes and funny, and just like, just seems silly, kind of. Like, we often talk about, you'll hear us say, nobody's been in here. It's like, we don't know that.
Right.
I mean, we like to think, and we like to use the clues that we can find to make that assumption, but like, we don't know that at all. There could be some guy coming in from private land in a way that you don't even really realize exists every single day of the whole season.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, Neon Man could be coming in and sitting on a bucket.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny because like, we saw that stand that day, and like, we were just like, yeah, nobody's hunting in here. Sure enough, some guy walks literally right to that spot. I mean, it was like, we were like, this stand's old. It's been here for forever. And it had been, but like, he still hunted out of it. So like, you just can never be, you can, well, and what's crazy is we're like, nobody's hunting here if that buck was bedded right there. Because that stand, I mean, that guy's stand was, 50 yards from where that big 8-pointer was bedded.
Yeah.
That day. I mean, the buck was avoiding that stand because it was a permanent setup. Like, found his sign, and his sign literally never went across that creek. But he was bedded right across the creek facing that tree stand.
Yep. Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even like a good example of, like you were saying before, like not getting attached to a spot. Like let's just say not even getting attached to a specific deer. Look at that deer that Aaron was hunting on public forever, that giant freaking buck.
The giant 9-point.
The giant 9-point. You know, somebody killed it this year. They were obviously hunting in the same spots that he was. And, you know, he obviously didn't try and go after that deer all year. He went and hunted all sorts of other places, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he barely even hunted for the, you know, I mean, I don't know. He really didn't go for him that often. And I like, we all stand and back him for that because, like, we don't want him to get too attached. Because next thing you know, you're wasting too much time. And you're not only wasting potentially your own time, but you're also, like, everybody else wants a chance to go too. You know what I mean? Or like, a chance to, like, you know, try something different or whatever. Like, we like to explore. Like, we're not hunting a buck. No, not a single one of us is.
Yeah.
Never.
No, and I love that about you guys, honestly. That's one of the coolest things. And kind of, not necessarily branching off of that, but another thing that I really like about you guys, you don't really focus on inches. That's like one of my favorite things. We don't really focus on inches here. Everybody likes to kill a big deer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you guys try and, like, I don't want to say you poke fun at it, but you guys have fun with that kind of stuff. Like, let's go back to the turkey tour. You guys did the hashtag Longbird. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
I'm still mad I didn't measure my bird this year.
Yeah, it's like, man, you want to talk about something seriously silly to us is like just score, right? It's like, I mean, the reason that it's silly is to us is it, and is actually, okay, let's not even say silly, not even poking fun. Like, let's make sure that, I guess, anybody listening realizes that, like, there's a serious reason behind us not talking about score too. And that's because we feel like when there's a lot of talk about it, or if there's too much talk about score, and hunting starts becoming a competition. Yeah. And what we feel is something that is going to quickly make hunters, you know, get discouraged from hunting is, you know, thinking that it's a competition. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not shooting as big a buck as, you know, the guy down the road. You know, I'm never going to be a good hunter. You just lose interest in the sport. I mean, that to us is like super detrimental to the future of hunting. It's like, if we're trying to make it this competition. So, like, yeah, like you said, everybody wants to shoot a big buck. And, like, shooting a big buck is awesome. Keep it in perspective of, like, what talking about score is potentially doing to people that are getting interested. You know, they may get discouraged. They may think that they're not doing things right, when the only thing that you got to do right when you're hunting is have fun. It's the only thing that you have to do. You know? Like, you know, I have to shoot a big buck. You know, I mean, all this talk, all of us talking about strategy, like, super in-depth deer hunting strategy, like, maybe you just like shooting squirrels, and that's cool too. You know, like, there's so many people that are deer hunting focused, you know, and it's like, it's just turned into this big antler game, and like, you're only a good hunter if you've shot big bucks and you've shot booners and like whatever, man. Like, I couldn't care less about that. I could, and none of us could. Like, there's not a single one of us that feels like that is important to hunting or makes hunting. Like, what makes hunting is like being out in the woods, you know, trying to understand some animal's pattern and try to put yourself in a position to make a clean, ethical shot at it. Period. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's hard enough as it is, rather than saying like, oh man, I want to shoot a 150-inch buck this year. It's hard enough getting bucks in front of you as it is.
Yeah. It's hard to get a deer in front of you. It's sometimes, I mean, if you're new to it, it's hard to shoot rabbits and squirrels. I mean, it still is for me some days. Like, I guess the point with it is like, it just isn't about that. It isn't. I mean, period. Like, it is not about inches. And I think that's just something that we feel really strongly about. And I mean, who's even scored a turkey anyway? So, like, it's really easy to poke fun at turkeys, you know? Like if you're telling me the score of your turkey, I'm automatically just like not interested in it.
I don't even know how.
What if somebody tells you they shot a 52-inch bird?
I don't even know how. I don't even know how it works. I just think it's hilarious. No. But I mean, at the same time, don't get me wrong. Like, it's fun to shoot a big buck. I'm not saying that, like, you know, like, obviously that's when we're going whitetail hunting. That is our goal. Like, us specifically at the hunting public. But like, for some people, it's just to go shoot a doe, and that's okay. You know, it's to shoot a deer. You know, and it's okay to shoot small bucks. Like. And I guess the thing is, too, it creates these arguments. Big bucks create these arguments. And it creates this, like, separation of hunters. And it's like, you know, in my area, it's brown, it's down. All my neighbors say it's brown, it's down. Well, maybe their situation is that they only get to hunt for 3 hours out of the whole season.
Right.
But you get to hunt 25 days out of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy should be able to shoot whatever he wants. He can shoot a spike if he wants to, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there'll be another buck. I guarantee you the rut will still happen.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be breeding. There's going to be another one.
Yeah. That's one thing that kind of gets me fired up. Like, people who hate on people for shooting smaller bucks and things like that, or younger bucks. Like, especially if they're a new hunter. Like, you see these posts and a kid shot a little basket rack 8-point, and they have this big smile on their face. And then you have this couple comments that guys are like, why didn't you wait for a bigger buck? You shouldn't have shot that buck. Like, he was excited about it, man. Leave him alone.
Yeah, not only that, but you know, in PA, I feel like with our state becoming more or less more mature bucks, you're finding with the point restriction and things around here, it's becoming more of a competition in Pennsylvania with people that are shooting young bucks and people just getting absolutely harassed for it. And I think that's wild. I mean, I shot a half rack this year with a broken off half side, and I couldn't have been more happy about it. You know, he was a somewhat mature buck. I don't care. He got me fired up. He came in with 3 other bucks and chasing on these does all through water and just splashing. It was the best hunt of my entire life, you know, and I couldn't be more happy with that. But people are too quick to jump the gun and put a number to it. And, you know, we talked earlier and I mentioned about our out-of-state trips to Ohio, and I told you, you know, we killed 2 Pope and Young bucks or better. I don't know if they're Pope. I'm just trying to give you, an image.
you're giving me just a
yes,
a shot in the dark of like roughly
exactly.
What
I don't know if that
right.
deer's 152 or 122. I don't know. I don't care. You know, it was an awesome buck. It gives you an image in your mind. But
yeah, exactly. And I guess that's and then you hear this argument too. And I mean, oh man, this is tough. This is tough too, because I know a lot of people are going to kind of bet probably.
Hey, we don't
care. A lot
care.
of people that would get bent out of shape about this, but like
we don't care.
They say, oh, it's not even about score. It's just about age for me.
Yeah.
I don't care about age. I mean, like, yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I would like to shoot the oldest buck, but like, I'm not out there like being super concerned about what I'm going to shoot because of its age, and I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to judge anybody about what type of age that they shoot, and I'm not even going to talk about how old the buck I think is. I mean, I may say, yeah, I think this one's really old if it's obvious that it's old, but like, you know, it's like, I don't want to say an age because like, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Like, it's always just a guess. Like, unless you were there for the birth of the deer, I hate to say it, you don't know how old he is. And I've seen a lot of like studies, you know, where, you know, they actually are sending deer teeth in. And I've seen where, like, actual ages come back. A lot of times, people that are so sure are not right.
Yep.
You know? Like, there's a lot of tricks, and, like, it goes both ways.
Oh, yeah.
It goes both ways. I mean...
You say it best, man. You say it. Your number one quote in my books, nobody will care about your mounts when you're dead.
Wait, you heard me say that?
Oh, I did. That in... one of my other favorites is you win some, but you lose most. I picked up on that from you.
Yeah, that's a classic one there. That's nothing could be more true than that. But where do you think you heard? Like, well, I'm just out of curiosity.
Listen, I've been pumping through podcasts that you've been on, different episodes, stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure I can't say for sure, but I think it may have been on either Down South podcast, somebody's podcast. I feel like I heard you say. I know it came out of your mouth. Nobody will care about your mounts when you're dead. And when I heard that, I wrote it down immediately, and I laughed for a half an hour.
That's my favorite. Actually, exact quote, I'll censor it, is nobody gives a crap about your mounts when you're dead.
Yeah.
Only I don't say crap.
Yeah.
That's exactly the quote that I say. It's just like, I mean, it's true. Like, nobody does. I mean, it's just become a burden, right?
Yeah.
Like, Zach died. Now we got to do something with all these stupid deer antlers.
Yeah, someone's gonna pick them up for $20 on a garage sale one day.
Yeah. It's just so funny. It's just like, I mean, there really couldn't be. Well, I don't know. At least in my opinion, it really couldn't be much more true.
Yeah.
Just fact.
Oh man.
So, I mean, listen, man, I'm sorry. We've been dragging you on forever. We want to be sensitive to your time. There's so many more topics I'd love to cover with you while we had you on. But I think we should maybe wrap this up with some rapid fire questions. Just some quick hits, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. I can
I think I can do pretty good at not rambling. I will see.
Hey, I'll let you ramble all night if you want to, man.
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to hear you. I mean, I'm having a blast just sitting back listening, but I know it's been probably over 2 hours now, so we might as well just get moving here. All right, so what is your number one tip for a new hunter?
Number one tip would just be get out there and move around, try to learn as much as possible. Don't get too caught up in any rules or anything that you read. Don't worry about spooking deer. Just go out there or whatever the game is. Like, don't be worried about failure because, like, if you're a new hunter, you're going to need a lot of failure to have success. So just go out there and have fun and try to fail.
Solid advice, man. I couldn't agree more. Who were your hunting influences growing up? Was it your dad, your grandpa, maybe somebody on TV?
Yeah, mostly just my dad, my grandpas, and then guys that I hunted with, like at our deer and turkey camps every year. I grew up hunting with just our buddies that were my age or older, and we all just kind of learned from each other. And I have a lot of respect for the guys that I kind of learned from, and they know who they are. So it's I don't know. I owe a lot to those people that helped me out when I was young. And maybe at the time I didn't realize as valuable as it was, but now I do, and I owe a lot to all those people.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite hunting tradition is then, as far as like
those deer camps? Man.
Yeah,
I love and maybe having a few Miller Lights at deer camp, or whatever. Like that's the kind of stuff that I like. Is just like hanging out with the guys and getting back, just BSing for hours and making jokes. I mean, cooking food together, just that camp atmosphere. Like it's easily. Like, I went on my first turkey camp when I was 12, when I, first started hunting public land turkeys. I went on my dad and his buddies, like, public land turkey hunting trip, and I was just like, this is the wildest thing that I've ever done. I'm more happy on this camp trip than, like, I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I would say that pretty much holds true still.
That's awesome. If you had to pick, let's say you have the opportunity to only ever go on one more hunt ever, what would it be?
Oh. Man,
I know that's a tough one, and it's kind of throwing you on the spot. I know.
I don't know an answer to that.
I don't know if I do either.
What it would probably be any way that I could go hunting with like as many of my friends as possible. I don't really care if it was deer, turkey, anything. If I could get that camp atmosphere feel, it wouldn't matter if what it was or where it was or how much success anybody even had. That's ultimately what I think I would want it to be. It's just to be able to hunt with like a group of guys or like have a camp with a group of guys. And, I know that's maybe not the most ideal situation or sort of answer that you were looking for, but
I think it's solid.
That if that was going to be my last hunt, that's the way I would want to go out.
No, man, you know what? That just shows what kind of guy you are. That's a really awesome answer, honestly. That's not what I expected, but it's awesome.
I think it's best because you didn't say, oh, it'd be a Colorado elk hunt or something like that. You put into perspective for everyone listening, hunting to you is more than just what you're hunting or where you're hunting it. It's about the people. It's about the experience. So I think that's what you did best with that answer. But I got one more tough question for you because all
right, let's shoot it.
I'd be doing my state an injustice if I didn't ask whether in 2019 we will see the hunting public in Pennsylvania.
It's sounding like that's going to be the case.
Really?
Man,
I think we're going to at the very least, we do have it penciled in for turkey. So
awesome.
At the very least, we're penciled in for turkeys.
Well, one thing I would say, if you were going to come for turkeys, I'm not telling you not to come this year for turkey or anything like that, but if you get your deer tag for the year, the following spring you'll have your spring turkey tag rather than buying your turkey tag and then kind of losing your license for the year.
Yeah, because
that's how it works there.
Yeah, this spring turkey is actually on the 2018 hunting license that starts in June.
That is completely backwards of everywhere else in the country.
Well, no wonder why we can't hunt Sunday. It just doesn't make sense around here.
Oh man,
that's the biggest. He's right.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah,
I know about that from really good friends hunting in Pennsylvania. I don't care for that one single bit, but I'm not going to dive into that.
You know what happened today?
What's that?
Our senator passed a bill to start Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah, man, that's a big win for us. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it's off to the Senate.
Well, good deal.
Yeah,
we're making baby steps. There is some progress, but I mean, there's some organizations on our side fighting for Sunday hunting, and it just the amount of backlash and
denial to it.
It's absurd to me. I don't even know that, like, I don't really know that I want to continue to talk about it because I don't want to get angry anymore.
Oh, dude, I'll get angry too. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
We posted our last episode that we recorded today as we're recording this one, and we went off on a tangent. There was 5 of us in here about Sunday hunting. It got out of control pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm just talking to my buddies. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense. It just flat out does it. I mean, a guy that only gets to hunt weekends literally has 50% of the time to hunt that he could, and that's horrible. And then past that, you know,
all right,
I don't know.
We'll move
If you got any other rapid fire questions, I'd be willing to go to those instead of talking about Sunday hunting.
And here we are. We're like, let's talk about Sunday hunting. No, I think that's it. I don't know. Do you have anything else, Austin?
No. That was the last rapid fire question. Other than that, man, before we let you go, you want to let anybody out there know where they can find out more about you or where they can find out more about the hunting public?
Yeah, so we have YouTube channel. That's where you can find the most of our video content, which is, you know, what we're most excited about. We got all kinds of videos, and literally anywhere from, you know, southern public land turkey hunting to western Arizona Coues deer public land hunting, and tons of whitetail hunting in multiple different states. At this point, we've been to a lot of different states already in the last, like, year and a half. Deer and turkey hunting, mostly public land videos, and that's all on YouTube. And then we have Facebook and Instagram, and you can find us under The Hunting Public, which we got a lot of cool, unique content there, too, like photos, different videos that don't make it onto YouTube. So there's all kinds of stuff there as well. And then I believe Ted has got the orders to create a Twitter account. I'm not sure if he's done that or not, but
oh, man.
I'm not a tweeter, so
I'm not either.
We shied away from it personally because I've gotten off that platform, you know, years ago, and it's
I don't know anything about it. I've never really have. So, but apparently we're going to be there, and then you can also find us on Amazon Prime, and you see the channel there. We got pretty much the same videos that are on YouTube, just maybe a little bit shorter even. Just because some of the things can't go on there that are on YouTube. Just like some of the more timely stuff, I guess, that we put on there. But anyway, yeah. And then we all just have our own social pages, too. Like
very cool.
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram.
I lied. I do have one more question for you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so I want to know who...
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
One other thing, too. I should totally do a plug of this as well. We also have a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The Hunting Public Podcast.
Yeah, you do. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's where it all got started with me, man, is the podcast.
Yeah, we do a lot of live Q&As on Facebook, too, which are super fun. And, like, if you're listening to this and you're been able to deal with listening to me for this long, then you'll like the live ones, because we ask, like, as they're coming in, like, live questions from the viewers. So that's super fun, and we can hit a lot of situations doing that.
Yeah.
So
Perfect
give that a plug too.
Perfect transition, because this is a question that I've thrown out there a couple times on your live podcast. Who has your vote for the best buck kill reaction of 2018 of your group?
I mean, I'm assuming that we're going to have the same one. I mean,
okay.
It's probably got to be that one of Ted in Kentucky.
Yes.
It's so
man. Man.
It's just so funny. It's so, like, it's funny to me, like, hanging out with Ted is, like, this flashback to being, like, that age.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I see a lot of, like, young Zach and Ted, you know, and I just, like, feel like that reaction just hit home, and the fact of, like, that's exactly how I would have reacted at that age, you know, just, like, you know, just so absolutely giddy out of your mind, and, like, I think it's so awesome, like, it's super good.
He lost his mind. When I saw that reaction, I was like, yes, that is, I mean, you can't fake something like that.
Oh, no.
You know, he totally lost
that just goes to show how fun hunting is, you know, like that reaction. Like, what else would make somebody act like that?
Right. Yeah.
Like, maybe winning, like, a big championship in sports or something, but, like,
no.
Other than that.
I don't even think that, because, I mean, if you think about a sporting event, it takes so long for something to occur in which you win it that, you know, there's almost some expectation. When you kill a big buck like that out of nowhere, it is all your emotions in a matter of seconds, and they just explode on you.
It is
and
crazy.
his face, oh my gosh, it's priceless.
Oh yeah, no, it's so funny, and then the hand bite is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Well, you nailed it, man. We really appreciate you coming on and spending the night with us, talking about hunting. We enjoy it so much. That's why we did this, why we started this podcast. And I'm sure you guys, same way, you just love hunting and love talking about hunting so much that any avenue you can take to get it out there and get it off your chest and kind of let the demons speak a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
no doubt. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to say I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and coming on, and it's been really awesome, man.
Yeah, no problem. Well, like I said, thanks again for having me.
Oh man, well that was a freaking wild episode, man. Ooh.
Dude, Zach Ferenbaugh, what an episode.
What an episode. A huge shout out to him for coming on and talking to us for as long as he did. I mean, he didn't have to take time out of his day, and he did, and we really appreciate it.
He took a lot of time out of his night to talk to us about all kinds of stuff, man. We covered everything on this one. There was buck bedding. We were talking about mobile hunting, mobile scouting. We got into their deer tour, their turkey tour. I tried to pick his brain about where he's coming to PA. All kinds of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I might have ruined his wanting to come to PA, but I don't think I think he'll come anyway.
I still think they do. It's the funny thing is, even though that's all they're getting is turkey tags out of it, if you think about it, a lot of the places they went on the turkey tour last year, that's all they were doing anyways, was buying a tag and a license and a turkey tag. It's about the same cost, if not more, anywhere else anyways.
Right. Yeah. And I mean,
it's reasonable.
It is. It's reasonable. And he even said that it fairly penciled into their schedule, so I think they're definitely coming.
I think it was such a high demand, and I think Aaron was interested in it too, because really, like he said, he's been to Pennsylvania. He's got his butt kicked here.
He likes a challenge.
Turkeys, and he does like the challenge.
He likes a challenge.
I think he wants to take the full group and try it again. Plus, Zach said, he wanted to get to New York again anyways, and and try to redeem himself there and see if they can't get a bird done either in PA or New York. But it's kind of fun to hear that those Iowa boys are having a little bit of trouble in Pennsylvania hunting some turkeys, man, because that's what they kill.
We'll see what's up. I think they can get it done.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for them, and anything I can do to help them, I would.
Absolutely.
But if they're going to be hunting big woods, public land for turkeys, it's tough.
Oh yeah.
It's tough, especially the area that I think they might be going to. The bird population out there ain't what it is around here.
Yep.
We have a pretty good bird flock around here.
That we do.
So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. That was one of my all-time favorite episodes. An unbelievable episode to record.
Absolutely. And if you guys really like this episode, feel free to send us a message on Facebook or Instagram or something. Let us know who you guys want to hear from. Mm-hmm. And if you wouldn't mind, head over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and give us a 5-star rating. That would just really help us out.
Yeah, leave us a review, leave us a 5-star rating. Go to YouTube and check out the hunting public.
Yeah.
What they're doing is changing our industry and changing the way that hunting is being viewed and the way that videoing hunting is being viewed. They have an unbelievable platform with unbelievable content. The guys are killing it. They're killing it, man. They're going public land. They're really doing everything right ethically. I mean, they do every single thing by the book. Mm-hmm. They're awesome to follow, but they're goofy and they're fun to watch.
Absolutely. And even head over to their Instagram and their Facebook, because they throw stuff on there that they don't put on YouTube, and just a little funny like quirks and things that they do, and keeps up to date on everything that they got going on.
But they're very informational.
Absolutely.
There's tons to be gained.
Yep.
If you want to learn how to kill a turkey, go back and watch their turkey tour videos.
Yeah,
it helped us out big time.
Oh yeah,
I can contribute a lot of our kills this year to the hunting public.
Absolutely.
So I thank them for that. I thank them for all they do.
Yeah.
So man, this was a great episode. We really appreciate you guys out there listening. Let us know what you want to hear. We got some pretty exciting episodes coming down the
pipeline.
Coming down the pipe here.
Yep. So everybody head over to our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Send us an email if you want. Tell people about us. If you do that favor too, tell a friend. That's all we need. But
and we have t-shirts.
Yeah, we have t-shirts now. Yeah.
We have t-shirts to sell. We have gray t-shirts with orange logo, a gray t-shirt with green logo, and a black t-shirt with white logo.
Yep.
It's got our logo on the front, and it's got the distraction is real on the back.
Yep.
They're real sharp.
Yep. Send us a message if you want one. We'll get it shipped out to you.
Yeah, we just did a real quick little order on them.
See if everybody likes them. If nobody likes them, we're not going to do another order. But if they do, we'll make another order and send them out.
Yep. We got it.
All right. Well, the distraction is real.
Distraction is real.
Let's go.
just remember, I'm just a goofy dude from Ohio. That's really all I am at the end of the day.